Arch, you look at your team, you look at the schedule, you look at the slate, and you think, okay, I kind of think this is how this season's going to go. Is that something you do? And I'm wondering if this season has kind of defied your expectations, or if this is kind of the up and down rocky road you thought it was going to be.
I never do that. I never even look at the schedule. I just find it just makes you worry about things you can't control. And I know the non-conference schedule really well because that one you put together, and you can't always do it the way you'd like to because you just can't find the game on the date that's open that fits your exams or fits your whatever. But the conference season is made up by the Big Ten. It's very hard for all of them to do, and so I don't look forward and say, okay, this is where this is what this looks like. I do know that this league right now is with 14 teams. The parity has never been like this. It looks like Wisconsin and Purdue are just outstanding, but everybody else can be anybody else. And so I never remember that. There was, that was been coach speak before, but we knew. I probably knew there was 2 wins with one team that was just really in the middle of a beginning of a rebuilding process, and there's not a team like that right now. And so it is exactly what you're seeing. It is right now. There's a whole bunch of 3 and 4 and 4 and 3 teams, and just like us. And who knows whether those teams will be, 9 and 9 when it's all done, or they'll be 12 and 4, or they'll be 4 and 14. Who knows? Because the league is really difficult to win this year.
Coach, Jamie mentioned the up and down pace of this team right now. It seems that even every player's gone through up and down as well. DJ, certain times he's looking great, then Wagner does great, then all of a sudden they slack off. Same thing with the seniors. Has that been trying for you?
Yeah, the lack of consistency right now it has been the one thing that's probably has plagued us the most. I wouldn't say it's trying for me as much as it is, how do we fix it? And just, try and have this, how do we grow from all of it? So, I mean, there's been one game, I think, with we had 13 wins, we had 7 losses. Of those 7 losses, there's only one, the Illinois game, which is really the one where we weren't right in it, with 10 minutes to go, and most of them with 2 minutes to go. I think only UCLA and South Carolina got away from us at the end. But other than that, we're only a couple plays away. But that consistency you need to win from every player at every time. So we got 2 guys that are really, if you watch them, they got a ton of promise. They're going to be very, very good Big Ten and Michigan players with DJ Wilson and Maurice Wagner. But they are playing real basketball where the game's on the line for the first time in their lives, really. Mo was in a few games last year, but they'll be up and down for a little bit now until they really understand, this is the time of the game I should do this or I shouldn't do this. And sometimes they just learn in games.
John Beilein, head coach at Michigan, in his 10th season in Ann Arbor, recently notched his 200th win at the University of Michigan. Looking at some of the Big Ten stats so far through this season, and the defense is something that's not great right now. Right now, you're last. That's an understatement. Well, I was trying to be kind. I'm sorry.
Thank you for being kind. Yeah.
You're last in field goal percentage defense. You're last in 3-point field goal percentage defense. Laymen like me and Stoney will sit here and go, the defense a lot of times is about effort. Offense, the shots have to go down, but defense is about bringing it every night. Is that on you guys as a coaching staff? Is that on the players? What do you think that's been a byproduct of?
I think people have to realize what effort is. I think our guys don't go out there and say, first of all, they're in shape. Second of all, they're not going to say, I'm going to slough this play off. What a lot of our guys are learning, what really playing hard really is. Really, really is. And so that's one part of this. The other part is your mind has to work just as quick. And that's the thing that has plagued us several times where we'll leave a shooter or we won't guard a shooter in what we call a quick manner. Rotations like crazy in basketball now with the ball screen and help and go back. And we'll go back and we'll look at a shooter and we won't contest him. We'll just sort of look at him, trying to figure out, who he is. If you don't get James Blackman, he'll get 50 for Indiana.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but to put a finger on that and say, okay, why is this happening? Everybody has a learning. I talk about this all the time. A learning curve, a tape delay type of thing that gradually gets shorter over time. But sometimes it is all 4 years with people, so you just can't stop. I mean, it's just very, very difficult to control how quickly people process quick action when every game it's different action. Every single game. And we don't get a week like football would be, and we don't get a huddle up to talk about it. It's like on the fly in flow sports. And you got to keep quick thinking, and that's plagued us as well.
John, you've been here a decade already. What do you think the expectations of the program should be from maybe the fan base? It always seems to me that in Michigan, make the tournament maybe 7 out of 10 years, maybe have one great run like you guys had and stay clean, no trouble, and that's good enough. Is that good enough, and what are the expectations?
There's 14 teams in this league. All 14 are they're well invested. They got great coaches. Money is not an issue with any team as far as recruiting, as far as facility, as far as anything. The competition is fierce. And, there's a couple of programs that have been really elite over time. And I don't know if that will even stay. You look at the Wisconsin program, which if it does, I'll take my hat off to them. They're in the NCAA tournament. They have the most wins in the league every year. But most of us will go through cycles. Right now, we'll go through cycles. Almost every team in this league, but one or two, has gone through a cycle. Purdue was, when I came into the league, Purdue was first in the league, first or second or third, won a championship. Within 5 or 6 years, they were at the bottom of the league. Now they're back at the top of the league. And that's what people have to, I think, get ready for right now. There's no more 9, 10 teams with 3 or 4 of them rebuilding. There's 14 teams. Everybody's good. And as people just, it's not just it is not just in our league. It is in college basketball overall. That injuries, NBA attrition, transfers, teams are going to go through cycles that will keep them that will have them be at the top. Then they'll be middling, and sometimes they might have to bottom out to get back to the top. And you see that happen with all teams. I'm not talking about Michigan. I'm talking about everything. That's what people should expect with their college teams going forward.
I know I asked you about the schedule earlier, and I know you said you don't look at it, but obviously you're in the midst of the Big Ten schedule now. You can't control it. I get it. But would you ever speak to the league office about the way it's gone? It just seems odd. You play Illinois 2 times out of 4. You're going to play Michigan State 2 times out of 3. Indiana games are packed together. Advantage, disadvantage. I know it's the same for both teams, but as a coach, does that bother you at all?
You know what? If you play a team back to back, I don't think it's probably it might not be best for fan appeal. But the one good thing is you don't have to. The kids have a shorter term memory to recall the scouting reports, which take a lot of time for us. But both teams have that same advantage. I don't think we should make too much of that. I think what we have to continue to work at is the midweek games that are at 9 o'clock, things like that. And the league's doing everything they can to try and do this. And if you're in a different time zone, you get back at 2:30 from Wisconsin, and the kids got calculus at 8:30 in the morning. That's not a good thing going forward. But I know everybody's aware of it. We just got to keep working at it and see what we can do. It's the only sport. It's the only sport, college sport, where there's not like a defined schedule of when you're going to play, where you're going to play. It's not every Saturday. Hockey's lucky enough to be Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday. The women are pretty consistent with the 7 o'clock game. But that's one of the bigger issues in scheduling, and our league is aware of it. I'm sure they're going to keep working at it, but it is hard. It is hard for these men to do those type of things. So, but having games like playing, they can't stop some of that. Arenas aren't available. You're trying to get us into the best TV times they can. It happens.
Last thing, you have Indiana tomorrow night, Michigan State on Sunday in East Lansing at 1 o'clock. That'll be a nationally televised game. Well, they're all nationally televised, but on CBS. Do you've never struck me as you've embraced everything about Michigan. You love the tradition, but the rivalry stuff, do you embrace that at all? Did you bring that? Do you put any extra heat on those games for your team, or do they know it without you mentioning it?
I think they know it. I think we don't go into any game and say, man, we got to win this game because it's everything we want it to be exactly the same. But I think the implications when the season's over is huge. But our kids feel it. I mean, Indiana is also. We've had some incredible games with Indiana the last few years. They beat us by 100 here, and then they actually by beating them in Indiana last year. That's what got us in the NCAA tournament. That's how simple it was. We made a shot from the right corner, and we beat Indiana in front of 20,000 Indiana fans, and that got us in the NCAA tournament. So you had to embrace these opportunities that these rivalry games that we have with the guys, the teams that people have the most interest in, are really the ones who probably determine, what type of season you have. They could determine whether you get into the NCAA tournament, which is really everybody wants to win this championship. How many championships has Michigan won in the last 50 years or whatever, Big Ten championship? And Michigan's been very successful. How many has Michigan State won? Regular season championships. They've been very successful. In the end, it's hard to win championships. That's our goal. But the real thing is be consistent in the NCAA tournament. Just be consistent. When we went to the final game, we finished 5th in the league.
Yeah.
Right? When we won the championship one year and we were out in the first round. You got to it's a bunch of kids playing basketball, and you got to embrace all the ups and downs you go through.
Hey, John, we really appreciate the time this morning. Good luck against IU. Good luck against State, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, John.
Thanks
a lot.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
John Beilein.